Welcome back to Red and Blue. I'm Robert Costa. The U.S. House has passed legislation designed to protect same-sex and interracial marriage. The Respect for Marriage Act passed Thursday on a vote of 258 to 169, with 39 House Republicans voting in favor of the bill. It passed in the Senate last week and now heads to President Biden's desk to be signed into law. CBS News congressional correspondent Scott MacFarlane joins us. Scott, thanks for being here. What's your assessment of what happened today on Capitol Hill?
Pretty striking day. 25 days until Democrats lose control of the U.S. House, Bob, and they have now sent to the president's desk this enormously important bill for the House Democratic caucus. But in fact, Democrats were joined by 39 Republicans in passing the Respect for Marriage Act today, including Liz Cheney and the number 3 U.S. House Republican, Elise Stefanik of New York. For Speaker Pelosi, it's one of her final acts as Speaker of the House. She was able to gavel this vote down. She was able to formally enroll the bill. And she told us in so many words, this is a response to the Supreme Court's controversial ruling overturning abortion rights in June. You'll recall Justice Clarence Thomas, in his opinion, opened the door, seemingly, to a review of the constitutionality of same-sex marriages. So under this new bill, the federal government is required to formally recognize marriages regardless of the couple's sex, race, or ethnicity. And Bob, I'll note this. It comes 26 years after Congress did just the opposite and prohibited federal recognition of same-sex marriages. Quite a sea change in one generation.
Scott, on the Brittany Griner front, we spoke earlier to Ed O'Keefe about some of the Republican reaction, but among both Democrats and Republicans, what is the response on Capitol Hill? You've been there talking to lawmakers.
Yeah, 2 different layers to the reaction, Bob. First of all, universal gratitude and statements of support for Brittany Griner on her safe return home, but then right down partisan lines as to the merits of the exchange, the value of the exchange made by President Biden. Let's hear first from Speaker Pelosi answering a question I asked about Republican criticism that Paul Whelan should have been included in any exchange as well.
Paul Whelan, he himself said the president did the right thing. I saw that as I was going to the floor. We are everyone is fully committed. Brittany, being a basketball star, and her name was more famous to everyday Americans, but Paul Whelan is of at least equal concern to us to have his freedom. So that nobody is saying, oh, well, we just settled for this. No, he becomes even a larger priority.
Scott, you spoke to
Pelosi defending the... Go ahead, Bob. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah, the Speaker Pelosi defending the deal by saying that Paul Whelan himself, in a phone interview today, said the deal was justified. But Rick Scott, perhaps the sharpest critic today, the Republican senator from Florida, saying the deal should have included Paul Whelan, that it was an error by the Biden administration and a significant one.
Earlier today, Scott, our colleague Catherine Herridge spoke with Congressman McCall. It's Ambassador McFall, as we know. Congressman McCall. She spoke with him about the wanting to be the next speaker, Kevin McCarthy. Let's listen to her interview about Kevin McCarthy of California.
Is there a scenario where a consensus candidate is put forward?
You know, we saw that, deja vu when Kevin pulled out before the conference and we had to rally behind Paul Ryan. So if on January 3rd, God forbid, we don't get a consensus, we'd have to reconvene and as a conference and figure this one out, either try to get to 218 or try to find another candidate. But I really think Kevin has it. I think he's going to be elected speaker on January 3rd.
Scott, what are you hearing about what would happen on a second ballot? In other words, for those who don't follow this every day, if there's a vote on the floor for speaker and McCarthy does not have the requisite votes to win the gavel, it would go to another ballot, another vote on the floor. How would that play out? Is there a possibility, as Catherine asked the congressman, that a consensus figure, a new person, could emerge as the next Speaker of the House?
You and I were both there the last time there was anything close to a close call, and John Boehner had to rally some last-minute votes on the floor. have some absences or some present votes to survive a challenge from the House Freedom Caucus. Eric Cantor, his number 2 then, was getting a few votes. We saw a relatively close call then. It's hard, though, to determine whether this is just fan fiction or real palace intrigue, whether there's really an alternative out there who could muster votes, and whether Republicans truly are open to the concept of not giving somebody 218 votes when clearly the Democrats are unified.
At the end of the day, you need to have the coalition. A lot of pressure on McCarthy. Scott, you'll be there covering every second of it. I know that for sure. Thanks so much for joining us here this afternoon.